Hello everyone, welcome back. A lot of movies have been released on VOD platforms lately, all through the year actually. Before this year, there were already a lot of movies released on VOD, whether on iTunes, Netflix, Hulu, DirecTV, Pay-Per-View, Vudu, Amazon, and other platforms. It has become easier for independent filmmakers to distribute movies in their vision. It's also harder because independent filmmakers have to take more responsibility in marketing the picture, whereas with studios, they have editing and advertising teams to market the movie, bring posters out there, show commercials on TV. Many independent filmmakers have done successful jobs marketing their movies to audiences without these additives. At the same time, it's becoming increasingly difficult to get hired and work for a Hollywood studio, especially after so much troubling info about studios has been exposed. I've been to several major Hollywood studios before. I've had a great time at all of them. I've learned a great deal about studio and independent filmmaking and distribution. I see that more filmmakers are turning to VOD distribution, or being forced to by their studios at this time, since many movie theaters aren't even open right now, and haven't been open all year. It's weird that movie theaters won't be open on Christmas. I didn't really like going to a movie theater on Christmas Day, but I know it's a tradition that a lot of families are inclined to do. Many families are now preferring VOD because movie theater prices have gone up so high. Families say that VOD has made watching a movie more convenient, as they can pause the movie and get snacks more easily. What I believe, and I'm sure many other filmmakers agree, is that there is a specialty to seeing a movie in a movie theater. It was special back in history to go to a movie theater, to see the new hit movie on a big auditorium screen with surround sound, with a crowd. Some of my favorite movies were released before I was born, so I can only imagine how great some of these movies were when they were released in theaters. Then there are movies I didn't see in theaters, and when I see them later, I wish I saw them in theaters. Like The Lost World Jurassic Park, Titan A.E., Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas, Tangled, and Frozen. And that's why I had to see Frozen 2 in theaters. And that was a delight. I was a kid when the Star Wars Original Trilogy Special Editions were released in theaters. I didn't see them in theaters, I saw them on video afterwards, and of course I had Star Wars fever afterwards, as I talked about in an earlier video. Should I have seen them in theaters? Yeah, I'd say I should have. But it sure was a delight to see at home, and still, I can only imagine how great these original movies were when they were first released in theaters in 1977, 1980, and 1983. I definitely saw the prequel movies in theaters, and these were great. Revenge of the Sith on IMAX, that was special. Then there were R-rated movies that I couldn't see in the theater as I wasn't old enough to see them in the theaters. Most notably Saving Private Ryan. My mom told me that when she saw this in the theater it was a genuine experience, and she observed how the audience felt when they were leaving the theater after it ended. I wish I was there to see that audience reaction. And that's why I knew when I was older, 8 years later, and Letters from Iwo Jima came to theaters. I had a great time watching that with my mom in the theater. 10 years after that, I saw Hacksaw Ridge in the theater. When I observed the audience reaction when this movie ended, I knew in my head this must be what my mom was talking about when she saw Saving Private Ryan in the theaters. Then there were movies I really wanted to see in theaters as a kid and couldn't because no one wanted to take me to see them. Most notably Bubble Boy, which I explained in a previous video. I couldn't see it in theaters for that reason. Although I saw it on DVD and have the DVD and have seen it several times since then, it would have been nice at the time to see it in the theater before then, especially considering it flopped at box office. Then again, I asked too much of my parents anyway. Then there were times when I had to beg my parents to take my sister and me to see a movie in the theater. Prime example, Mystery Men. When this was getting ready for release, I love superheroes and I see the preview for this superhero comedy and I tell my mom and dad, please take me to see it in the theater. Mom and dad really weren't that interested. There were actually several failed attempts to see it in the theater before my dad finally picked a time to take myself and one of my sisters to see it in the theater. He stayed awake and loved the movie just as much as we did. We actually saw it 3 more times in theaters afterwards. How strange that Mystery Men still flopped at box office after that. It's actually not the record for the most times we saw the same movie in a theater. When I was a really little kid, back when movie theater ticket prices were really cheap, my mom took us to see the Disney movie Aladdin a whopping 8 times in theaters. I have vague memories of being a little kid and seeing that in the theater again and again and again and again and again. Sometimes my family and I see bad movies in theaters, and as long as the movie isn't too bad, I still appreciate seeing it with family in a theater. As long as the movie isn't too terrible, because there have been times when we saw a really terrible movie in the theater and we wish we didn't. I'd rather not share examples. How about when I do see a great movie in theaters and have a great experience? I saw Boyhood in the theater and had a wonderful, absorbent time watching that. Les Intouchables in the theaters was very, very unique and funny to see in the theater. The Iron Giant, my sister and I were lucky to see this in the theater before it ended up flopping at box office. Since it is Christmas time, the Polar Express was really special to see on IMAX 3D when that released. I don't like 3D, I still prefer original format, but the 3D in that movie was nice. And it's a nice memory of seeing that in the theater. It was so nice that we saw it again in the IMAX 3D the following year when it had a re-release. And yet it disappoints me that so many movies are released in IMAX with only the 3D option. When a movie gets released in IMAX without the 3D option, that's special to me, like when Oblivion came to theaters in IMAX. And you can't get the IMAX experience at home. Interstellar on IMAX was a very special experience. It felt like I was traveling through interstellar space with that big surround sound in that auditorium. The whole theater rumbles, and the big screen engulfs you in that space travel. By the end, I felt like, whew, okay, I've landed back on Earth, time to drive home. When I saw the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus in a theater, it was January in Pennsylvania, when it's freezing. The theater we went to, the air conditioning heater system was broken, yet the theater stayed open. We literally had to keep our winter coats on, keep our gloves on, keep our hats on, as we sat cold in our auditorium seats. This movie was so spectacular that we didn't care how cold it was. We loved the movie and we loved the experience of watching this on the big screen. It was that great. Hollywood studios are going through many troubles now, trying to cash in on remakes or sequels to classics. And people are smart enough not to give in to those. Hollywood studios think they're playing it safe when they cash in on old hits, but they're really losing money. Playing it safe never succeeds. It always fails. People say that Hollywood has run out of ideas, or doesn't want to come up with new ideas. But many new filmmakers are out there who have fresh ideas. New generations of filmmakers deserve a chance. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Like and share if you enjoyed. And if you haven't already, subscribe to me for more videos. Hit the bell if you want to be notified of uploads. I'm making more videos for you and bigger projects for you as we speak. Have a great week and a great life, and always love yourself for who you are. Merry Christmas. Godspeed.